Hey everyone, welcome back to Amberg Acres. So we are into September now. Hunting season is a week away. So what we're doing out here today is I went and I rescued some trees from the forest. I got some willow whips, and I also got some more red osier dogwood. So if you remember last year, we planted some red osier dogwoods right in this area here. This is my wettest area. So I'm going to plant some willow whips in here, and I'm going to plant some more of the red osier dogwoods. And then I have a couple of little white oaks that I found in the forest that I'm going to plant out towards the field more. And we're going to do that first, and then later today we're going to get the bow sighted in, which you should be doing if you're going to be going hunting. You should be sighting your bow in by now. All right, so let me show you what we got in the back of the trailer here once. So these here are what I call willow whips. They're not a willow tree. They're kind of like a bush that grows in the ditches around this area, and that's where I got these from. It's from the ditches, because I didn't want to walk in. They're all over in the swamps, but I don't want to walk into the swamp in the water. So I kind of get them out of the ditches right alongside the roads. The red osier dogwood is in there also. That basically comes from the same areas. And then the white oaks, fell over on me there. The white oaks, I rescued these out of the forest. They were growing right along a trail, and I pulled them out by hand, and I got the whole root. So we're gonna try planting them out here. I got a couple of chestnuts that died, and I'm gonna replace them with these white oaks. Now this should be a true white oak, not a hybrid or nothing. So these are going to take forever to grow. So I'll never see the benefits of these trees, but hopefully down the line somebody else will. So we're going to get them planted. We're going to get these whips planted, and we'll let you know in spring if they get leaves back on them or not, or whatever. So I typically plant them right here in this is my wet area. So when it rains, this whole area here is usually flooded. And that's why I put in the drainage area here into that watering hole, into that water hole over there. Now we've had, probably close to 2 inches of rain in the last couple of weeks here, and it's dry. But it was really dry before that. The whole month of August was pretty dry up until just recently. So that's why it just soaks right in. But in spring, that was full to the top right there. So this area is usually, if it's going to flood, this is where it's flooded. This is usually underwater. This stretch right here, this trail, a lot of times I can't drive on there with the tractor at all, because I'll just sink in because it gets so wet. So that's where we're going to plant them. We're going to put some right along here, maybe right along this ditch, right along in here where we put the red osier dogwoods. We're going to put them in there. And what I'm going to try different this year, so let me show you the red osier. So we planted these last year. So they're growing, but they're being eaten off as fast as they grow. Okay, the deer love them. Now I don't know if this one's still alive, but the top is eaten off. So I don't know if that's what made it die like that. Now it's going to grow out of the bottom. I really don't know. The willows and the red osier dogwood do not need to be planted necessarily in a cage, but I'm going to experiment this year so I can see if I'm going to get a better growth on these here in a cage than I am by just leaving them out here wild. Because they're growing, they're alive, but they don't seem to be making any progress, if you want to use that word. So that's what we're going to be doing. So you take one of these whips. Now I've had these sitting in a bucket here since yesterday. I went and got them. So the experts that do this a lot claim they should be at least 18 inches, so that you can stick, at least three of these nodes down into the ground. Okay, so that's a good 6-8 inches there probably. So that's why you got the 18, so then you got something up above that's still alive, you know. And then willow and red osier dogwood, and I'm sure there's other trees. So depending on how long this has been sitting, you want to recut this end down here on the bottom. So I just take it and just cut it off at an angle, and then you want to remove at least 3 nodes. So just like that there. And that is where the roots will start growing out of, is those areas there. So I'm gonna do 4 of them like that. Just that's how I do it. Okay. And then you're just gonna knock yourself a hole in the ground and you're gonna stick these in. So let's get a couple. What do you think? I don't know. Maybe a half a dozen in one of them baskets. Now, depending on the branch, this one here had almost six nodes, you know, just in that little bit. And these are smaller ones, but they'll still work. So now, like this one here, it doesn't have any nodes down here, so this is probably not a good candidate for planting. So we'll throw that one off to the side. So we are going to put this first clump right here on this corner where these trails come together. Like that. So now I like the metal cages. I've tried tubes. I have a whole bunch of tubes up in the garage up there, and my results with the tubes have been terrible. I went to the cages, especially for like the chestnuts and stuff. The chestnut needs full sun. The cages, I've had very good results using the cages versus the tubes. And I can't tell you why, I don't know why, but the cages to me is the way to go. So. It is just that simple. So we're going to put a little post in here and use some cable ties to attach it. So it can't just get knocked over by the deer. So 2 cable ties is good. You can do one at the bottom, but it's really not necessary. I got to go back and get some more cages. I can only carry a couple cages in here at a time. So it's really that simple, guys. Just knock yourself a little hole and stick the little whips in there, and you're done. So I put half a dozen whips in 2 cages, so that's a dozen whips, willow whips. And then in the middle one there, I put 5 red osiers. Let me show you a little close up of that. So we got half a dozen whips in here. I took a couple of the extra ones that were left over. I put on the outside so that we can have a visual next spring of if any of it grew for one. But are these doing as good as the ones inside the cage? Okay, that's why I put them there. And then these are the red osiers right in here, and we'll see how those do better than the ones that are right over there in the growing by themselves in the grass. Okay, and then I did the same thing on this one. Half a dozen whips inside the cage and then 2 of them outside here, and see what that does. When's the best time to do this? Well, spring, because it's wet. So spring is a good time to do it. The problem with spring is the whips, you're not going to be able to tell what they are always, because there's a bunch of different varieties of these whips. The red osier you'll be able to see in the spring. You can just drive around out in the county, and all over the ditch there's all kinds of red osiers growing in the ditches, and the county just comes and cuts them all off every year with their sickle bar or whatever they use to cut the ditches. So, you know, help yourself, I guess, to the ones in the ditches, because those are perfect. You know, they're just cutting them off anyhow. So if you can get out there in spring before they cut it, you want it to be wet. So it's nice and wet right now. That's why I did it now. But you want it to be wet because they need water. They like water. That's why they're growing in the ditches. They like the water. The water everything being wet right now will help get the roots started, and hopefully they'll winter over, and then in spring they'll start growing right away. So those back there in the woods here a little further, we did those in October last year, and they're growing. I don't remember when I did these little ones here, but I did some up the trail here, and I believe I did those in spring. So right in here, they're still alive. So right here, red osier. This is a red osier. I did those, I believe I did those last spring, and they grew really good all summer, but now you see they look like they're pretty well getting hammered or whatever. I'm assuming that's what's eating off the stems, is the deer. That one didn't make it right there. That one didn't make it. But there's several of them in here. Yeah, this one's still alive right here. So the problem we got here is this is all raspberries. We got those wild raspberries. They grow like crazy. They're basically a weed, you know, and they just take over. Right here's another red osier right in here. It's still alive, you know. They're still growing. So here's one right here. I believe this is one here too. I believe this is one. See, they're still growing, but they're getting eaten off, and that's why I wanted to try the cages once, just to see if that's going to make them, that I can get a bush before I take the cage off, and then let the deer go at them, you know, because the way they're going right now, they're not going to get anywhere if they just keep eating them off, you know. So let's go plant the oaks. I already have cages for those because I'm going to replace some chestnuts that died, and my batch of chestnuts for this year that I tried growing over the winter, you know, you plant the seeds and they're supposed to freeze, and then they grow a taproot in spring. None of them grew, so I don't know why. You know, it's just one year they were all moldy because I had it too wet. Maybe this year I had it too dry, trying to overcompensate. I don't remember. I don't know. You know, I had 1 year where I had a perfect batch of chestnuts. They all had nice taproots. I planted them all in little pots, you know. Came up the next week and they were already had shoots on them, nice little trees growing out of them. Came up the following week, they were all gone. The squirrels got in them, just tore them all up. So that's how my chestnuts are going right now. So I haven't done nothing yet for this year. I probably will get some more seeds and try it, because I want to get some chestnuts growing on this property also. Nobody has chestnuts growing. I got a few trees over there that are doing really well, and then I got some that aren't doing so well. So we're gonna get back to that again this fall here and try another batch of chestnuts. I may try a different method that I saw and see how those work compared to the way I was doing it. Stay tuned for that if I get to it this fall yet. All right, we're gonna go plant those oaks. All right, so we're out here by the field, the bean field, where I planted. Every other one was an oak, chestnut oak. I don't know how many years ago it was. That quite a few years ago already that I did this. So some of these have been struggling, and I'm not sure why, because the one right up there, right next to it here, is doing just fine. So I'm not sure what happened here, but the tree died off. So this spring, it looked like it was dead, but then as I left it in there, it started getting little tiny shoots, green shoots on these buds here. So I thought, oh, well, maybe it's gonna come back. And it didn't. It's all dead now again. So I don't know what's going on there with these chestnuts. I mean, most of them grew. Most of them are doing just fine. I grew some from seed and I bought some trees, live trees. But so all we're gonna do is we're gonna dig a hole here with our shovel and put one of them white oaks in its place. The other thing I wanted to show you, this is what a bean plant looks like if the deer don't eat it off. It's probably getting close to 3 feet tall, and it's got all kinds of beans on it. So if I would fence in this field that they couldn't get in here, that's what I would have, is a whole field full of beans like that. But because I'm just planting it for them to eat and stick around this area, that's what I have. I have, you know, you can see they're all just eating off, you know. There's quite a few beans on there though this year. That's surprising. That'll keep them busy eating them into the fall here now with all those beans that are on there. So we took a drive yesterday, and we just do this once in a while. We go up and we drive into county forest and wherever else. Basically the logging roads. They're called a forest road number, like a 405 or 417 or whatever they are, and we just drive on them and just watch for deer and do stuff, you know. Take a walk once in a while. If we see a neat looking area, we'll walk in there and stuff. But we were over on, what would that be? That would be the west side of Pembine. It was actually Beecher, which is just before Pembine. We went by a bean field, and I believe it was beans. It looked like beans. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't get out of the car and go in the guy's field to see what it was. But there were 14 deer standing out there, right where we could see them from the road. My wife took some pictures, so I'll see if I can get some pictures and drop one in here. But there were 3 really nice looking bucks. I mean, you could see their antlers, you know, from the road easily. They were just beautiful, perfect rack bucks standing out in that bean field. The deer are around here. I just don't know why I can't get them to stay in this area and stay coming to my field every year during hunting season. So that's still something we're working on, and these trees are going to be part of it, you know. Like I said before, I'll never see the benefit of these trees, but somebody else will, you know. 20 years from now or whatever, somebody else will have some nice white oak trees here on this property that are going to bring deer in when they want to sit out here in their tree stands. So, all right, enough of me talking. Let's get this tree planted. So I just want to show you the difference in the roots. So this chestnut looks more like what I call a cluster. It's got a lot of little roots growing out of a ball, sort of, where the oaks have this big long taproot. And this tree here is probably, you know, a 1-year-old tree, and look at the roots on there already. That's the difference in these trees. The other thing you want to watch for when you're planting a hardwood, there's an area here where the root ends and the trunk starts. I believe that's called the crown, and you don't want to bury that crown, okay? That should stay right at the surface of the soil, okay? So that's what we're going to try and do here. Get this taproot covered really nice. And we'll put the cage back on it. Speedy's getting his tail feathers back. He lost all his tail feathers about 2-3 weeks ago. And they're all growing back now. Looking real pretty again. Aren't you, buddy? Why are you running away from me? Yeah, he's looking really nice right now. So I had to go look that up because I didn't know birds lost their tail feathers like that. It's called molting. They molt their tail feathers and then they grow them back. And I don't know what the reason is for that. So if you know what the reason is, maybe you can leave it in the comments here so that everybody can tell will know what it's for, why they do that. But yeah, I was kind of shocked when I came over here one day and he had no tail feathers. All right, that one's good to go. I got 3 more in there. I think the next one is way up at the other end of the field. So I thought this one was dead. It was all taken over by this viney stuff, whatever this is here. Don't know what that is that's growing. But back in spring, when I looked at this one, it was not growing, and now it grew 2 new shoots out of the bottom there. So I'm gonna snip this trunk off so them 2 new shoots can grow, and I'm just gonna put the cage back on, and we'll see what it looks like next year. So I gotta go check the other side yet of the field over there. I'm pretty sure there's a couple over there that died too, or looked dead. So who doesn't want a giant white oak tree growing in the middle of their field? So I got 1 more left here. I'm gonna put it, I don't know, 25, 30 feet away. And we're gonna put them right in the middle of this field here. And at some point I may plant this field, but I can just go around the trees. You can see the way these trees, especially that one down there, was really bent. But that's the way they're growing out in the forest. They're probably not going to survive. There were hundreds of them. There's hundreds of them, one right on top of each other, all over on the forest floor. So they're probably not going to survive on their own. You know, maybe, what do you think? 1 out of 100 will actually live to be a tree. The rest are all going to die at some point, or the deer just eat them off. The issue is they're so bent. So I'm trying to put that root in there so that the tree will start to grow straight now, with the sun being out in the full sun like this. That tree should start growing straight come spring. At least that's what I'm hoping. So we'll give you an update then in spring, and right now I got 1 more to plant, and then I'm out of here. Then we're gonna go shoot the bow. We're gonna use the back of the truck as my workbench today. Last year, we made some changes to the bow. We went over the weight forward on the arrows, which basically is null and void because the arrows aren't built that way. So even adding a heavier tip, we could not get the front of center where we wanted it to be, right? So did it help adding that weight to the tip? I don't think it did. I don't think it did anything to help my aim or my shooting or the arrows fly better. It didn't do anything. So we're gonna go back a little bit and backtrack on what we did. I made a really bad shot last year, if you remember in the hunting video. Shot the deer in the back hip. But what we did last year is we switched scopes. I took the scope off of the Bruin Ambush 345, and I put it on the Barnett, and I took the Barnett and put it on here because I felt like this scope wasn't giving me what I needed. So changing the scope made absolutely no difference. I still made a bad shot even with this scope on there. So we're gonna put everything back the way it was. We're gonna take the arrows and we're gonna go back to a 100 grain tip instead of the 125 grain tip. And we're gonna take a few shots and get it sighted in and see how it works this year again. I like this bow. I like this Bruin Ambush. It's a little more powerful than the Recruit and the Barnett Recruit. They don't make the Barnett Recruit no more. I don't know that they make this one anymore. These were the two cheapest bows money can buy on the internet. I never missed a deer with this Barnett Recruit. Thing was really accurate. And then I got this Bruin, a little more powerful bow, and I started having issues. Something's not going right here with one of these bows. This one here has always shot pretty good. This one here I've had issues with. So I'm not sure what it is. I haven't put my finger on it yet, but we're gonna try and figure it out. So we're gonna put this scope back on. We're gonna switch scopes. We're gonna change the arrows, and then we're gonna do some shooting. Okay, the one thing you want to do when you're changing a scope is you got to get it. You can either move it forward or backwards on this Picatinny rail, but you want to get it so that your eye lines up. It's basically what you're aiming for. So when you just pick up the bow, you put it up there. You want that thing to be. You want to be able to be looking right at that sight. So right where I got it looks pretty good. Alright, so the next thing I got to do is change the tips on my arrows, get them back to the 100 grain arrow. Alright, so I got 3 arrows set up. 2 with target tips that are the same as the broadheads, and then 1 with a regular target tip. So I'll start with this one just to get me close, and then we'll switch to the other ones. So I think that's all we need. I'm going to still use the pile driver arrows, which I used last year. We just went with a lighter tip, and we're going to see if there's a huge difference or not. So when I make a big change like this, I take my first couple shots real close so I can tell kind of how far off the arrow is. I don't know where this was adjusted to, this scope. So we're going to start just using the top pin. Well, that's not too bad for the up and down. Off a little bit left to right. We'll make that adjustment and we'll step back another 10 steps or something. We'll just keep doing that, and we'll keep moving back until I get to about 20 yards or so, and then we'll try dialing it in the rest of the way. So I'm gonna move you a little closer to the target. Last year, all my shots were going left. And that's the way it's starting out now. They're all going left. Alright, so I think I'm dialed in close enough. I'm going to back up now to 20 yards and take a shot and see what it looks like. So it always seems like it's delayed a few shots. So I moved it quite a bit to the right, and now it finally moved to the right. So I moved it back a little bit to the left. We'll see if it moves back right away or if it takes a few shots. So you can't group them much better than that. These were the two, this was the target point here. And these were the two with the broadhead on it. I'm probably not going to get them out of there, am I? Yeah, I had a feeling that wasn't going to work. Alright, I got to do some surgery on my target. Okay guys, I got this dialed in pretty good at 20 yards. I took those broadheads off. I epoxied them tight so that I could so I could make sure that that arrow was flying the same trajectory as the target point. And it did. They flew pretty much the same pattern. Okay? It was a little higher maybe than the target arrow, but it was still a kill shot. So now I switched to 3 target arrows, target tips, and this is my pattern. And this is just me. This is me being bad. It's not the bow. It's just me shaking a little bit or whatever, you know? So I got it dialed in pretty good. So we're gonna move back to 30 yards now, and we're gonna see what the pattern looks like at 30 yards with these 3 arrows. All right, so that was 3 shots at 30 yards. This one's off a little bit. That's me though. That's me jerking or something. It's not the way these arrows are flying. These arrows look like they're flying perfectly straight. So there's nothing wrong with these arrows with the 100 grain tip on it. The bow is sighted in almost perfect. So there's one more test I want to do, and that test is, do the luminox affect how this arrow flies? Okay, so I'm gonna take this one that flew perfectly here. I'm gonna take this one, and I'm gonna go put that luminox in there, and I'm gonna see if that flies the same or close to it at 30 yards. All right, be right back. So I went and weighed this luminox and the original knock that was in the arrow, and there's about a 10 grain difference between this and that. So this is 10 grains heavier now on the back end of this arrow. So is that why it went high? I don't know. I'm going to do one more shot and see if that makes a difference. I am going to say no. It did not change the flight of this arrow. Not by much, if it does at all. But it's something you should do yourself, is to make sure if you're going to use luminox, shoot a couple arrows with the luminox in there and make sure it's following the same trajectory as the regular arrow, because it does it. Every little thing makes a difference, is what I'm getting at. Okay, so I shot those broadheads just so I could make sure that it was flying the same as the regular arrow, because when I shot last year, that arrow did not seem to go anywhere near where I shot at it, at the deer. So that means I'm doing something wrong up in my tree stand. Either I'm moving, or I'm jerking, or I'm hitting a windowsill or something. I've done that before where I hit the windowsill, but you'd hear it, and I didn't hear it last year, and it went completely the wrong way, wrong place. So as far as those broadhead goes, well, let's go back up to the truck and we'll talk. So what did we resolve here this year? Well, all all those changes I made last year to the arrows, putting on the heavier tips and trying to get my front of center better, it made no difference as far as me shooting, target shooting. So I'm going to go with this setup the way I have it right now. It's dialed in. I think there's no reason I should miss a deer. As far as these target points go, for those of you guys that doubt that these open up, I epoxied this. I put epoxy all through there, okay? So there was no way that blade should have opened up, and it still opened up when it hit that target. You can doubt, but I think these work really good. These are the, what are these called? I can't remember what the name of these are. Two blade something or other. They're a pretty common brand name. So we're gonna go back to this setup. This is what we're gonna shoot, and we'll let you know if we get a deer or not. Okay. So now that we got our trees planted, our bow sighted in, we are ready to go for the season, which is next week. You probably won't see this video until a week after the opener, because I already have a video posted for next week. So if you like these videos, make sure you subscribe and keep watching, guys.